as an investor, investing in technology, what are some factors that they would consider to, I guess, evaluate the return on investment for that
Mhm.
technology? What are the factors that they would look into?
Yeah, there's a number of things. To some degree, that's going to be a little different based on the type of technology that you've decided to, roll in. And so the conversation starts earlier back into kind of like, what do you want to offer? Like, what kind of payment options, for example, do you want to offer in your location? And if the answer to that is, I want to eliminate coin altogether, and that is a decision that a lot of store owners are getting to, and it's what we do in our own personal stores. We still take cash, and most of these locations do still take cash, but eliminating the quarter itself,
Mhm.
the ROI is actually very easy to calculate, because we can take a couple things into consideration, and these are not new terms, but we have a term we call it, it's called float. It's this idea that your customers are going to put money on an account or on a card in advance of the service. In traditional coin laundry, they pay as they go. They get quarters out of the change machine, they put them in, they take the quarters home, they bring them back. It's just
Mhm.
they pay as they go. When
Yeah.
you go to a card only type of scenario, the customers are paying you in advance. And so there's always this difference between how much they've given you and how much they have spent. And we have found that really grows to be a significant number that can be really counted as part of the ROI factor. And it does vary from location to location. And we quote where it could be, but some of the dollars associated have to do with decisions that you make as an operator about how much that float's going to be.
Mhm.
But more importantly, I think, than just the float, which is important, that's the loyalty that's associated with that float. So the idea that if you have invested $10 in a store on a card and you used only 8 of it, you've got a $2 kind of loyalty to return to that store next
Mhm.
week. It's time to do
Yeah.
laundry again, and you
Yeah.
can just kind of expand how that goes.
Mhm.
The second part of the ROI is going to be this idea that, when you're vending your machines, when you're pricing the machines in 25-cent increments, it's quite limited in that your utilities do not generally adjust in the same types of increments. And so, the easy analogy is to look at dryers. And just for the sake of conversation, if you're 10 minutes for 25 cents in a store, if your gas increases, which it does, the cost of gas goes up and down throughout the year based on demand and other
Mhm.
factors.
Mhm.
If it only goes up 5 or 6%, if you don't have a way to adjust your vend price by 5 or 6%, then you're going to find that you're losing that 5 or 6%. And so, some store owners struggle with increasing prices. That's something that we've had challenges with for many years in our industry, is being very cautious about raising prices, and so it erodes at the profit of the store, and ultimately can become detrimental to the store's upkeep. They start to sacrifice other things that are equally important. Maintenance, employees, cleanliness start to suffer because the profitability isn't maintained.
Mhm.
When you eliminate the coin side, you can really adjust the vend price, to be attached to your costs. And so, if you have a 5% increase, you can raise the price a couple of cents on the dryer. And we have found in almost every instance, when you look at consumers and how they react to a small vend price increase,
Mhm.
versus if they take away services for the same price, they would almost always, almost unanimously would
Mhm.
prefer to have the same service for a little bit more money. And so that kind of, it satisfies the customer just as much as it satisfies the store owner's
Mhm.
ability to maintain a profit margin. And so
Mhm.
that's the best ROI, is to eliminate coin.
Mhm.
The second one, if you're going to hybrid and keep coin as part of the equation, you start to
Mhm.
look at things that are, I'll call them more soft advantages, because you're
Yeah.
talking about adding conveniences to customers. So now you start to evaluate, well, I can get more business if I offer credit cards at the machine, for example, or that
Yeah.
convenience that I'm adding is going to bring in. But to put a hard number associated with it is really about how much work you're willing to do to advertise the fact that this exists, and the word of
Mhm.
mouth that's associated with that. So the costs with going hybrid or adding credit cards or mobile pay, for example, at the machine, they're there, but they're softer. When you eliminate coin, we can come up with a really hard ROI, show you really what it costs, and what it's gonna, what the ROI payback's gonna be. Even from, and in all of these cases, the best way to ensure an ROI is to raise your vend price when you implement something new like this. And I think that in many cases, that's the way to best make sure that you get an ROI is you put in a new credit card reader system, raise your vend prices a little bit to accommodate. People are willing to pay for the convenience.
Right, charge a premium, again, for that convenience, absolutely.